Hey guys, Dale here. Finally back with a brand new RimWorld series. We're calling this one the Conclave. So let's go ahead and I guess we'll talk about the story in a little bit. We'll take a look at our starting map and I'll describe the story. This is going to be part 0. So in this episode, we're really just going to kind of go over the game setup. So if you're not interested in all of that, we will be playing the game in part 1. So you can skip this episode and jump over to part 1. For those of you that are hanging around, we'll take a look at kind of like the key mods for the playthrough. We'll take a look at the scenario that we used for starting. We'll look at the world, our ideal legion, and we'll look at our colonist. So the first thing that I usually do, I show you guys graphics setter just so you can see kind of like what mods are adding the most visual content. And of course, at the top of the list, it is, of course, a bunch of retextures. Oracle's Miscellanea is there. We do have vanilla sidecasting expanded. I don't think that's going to be a major feature of this playthrough. I feel like it makes the game really easy. That being said, I feel like the royalty sidecasting is just like so underwhelming, like not being able to autocast and things like that. That this feels like a must-have for me. So I have done some things to kind of like tone it down so I'm not as super reliant on it. I've turned off XP gain. So the only way that we're going to be able to like increase our sidecaster level is to find neuroformers. So actually I like have to hunt and work for it. But if we do have any sidecasters, maybe we'll just reserve that for like 1 or 2 pawns. We have vanilla textures expanded, of course, clean textures, alpha memes. My mod adds a bunch of graphics. A big part of that is the preview images for the starship blueprints. So Gravship blueprints is my mod, melee animations, just a ton of stuff, lots of hair, facial animations, all that fun. Okay, I do have a bunch of mods open in the Steam Workshop so that we can take a look at them. So let's go ahead and do that. Big part of this mod will be my Gravship Blueprints mod. So those of you that aren't familiar with this, that lets you save your Gravship designs. It lets you load Gravship designs so that you can start with a custom one. You can encounter them on the world map. All kinds of fun stuff. I do have some optional patches in here that are just kind of like convenience things for Gravships. So I have a patch that allows players to launch their shuttles through roofs without destroying them. So you can have a vacuum sealed shuttle bay. It doesn't make sense to me that we don't have any way to have like a vacuum sealed pressurized shuttle bay in the mod. The biggest enhancement that I've made recently is you have the ability to deactivate your grav engine. And so this will be really important with another mod that we're playing with because I want to play a game with a fleet of grav ships. So that's what we're going to do in this playthrough. And the game gets really weird about having multiple grav ships on the same map. But if you disable or deactivate an engine so that you only have one grav ship active at a time, then there's no question about which grav ship you're trying to launch, and it just operates a lot smoother. So that is a patch that I'm very, very happy with and proud of, and hope other people that are wanting to build grav ship fleets find useful. The next mod on the list is a brand new mod from me called Incident Control. This lets you build one of 2 buildings on your map, and you have a bunch of options. We'll take a look at it when we're playing the game, of course. But you can bring up a list of what incidents are able to kind of happen on that map, and you can disable them. So you can use an incident control beacon to disable them. The more incidents you disable, the more power the incident control beacon costs. Or if you're playing a lower tech playthrough, we have the mercenary coffer. So you can load this up with silver. At midnight, it will take the payment from the coffer and turn on incident protection for the next day. Of course, the more incidents you disable, the more silver it needs to consume every day. I was interested in making this mod because there have been so many times that I've just wanted to have like a home base that's like a safe space, right? And the base design, like, cool, whatever, like we'll make it look nice, but it's not going to be the center of the playthrough. I want the playthrough to be centered on like a group of adventurers, like going out questing and trading and exploring and all this other stuff. And we got to do a bit of that with my House Stormguard series. I feel like, we had a prince and his adventuring team going out into the world, constantly doing adventures. But then back at home, we had a huge map. There were always things happening on that map, so it can be a lot to deal with. So I think this is definitely a tool for enabling a little bit more role play in your colony. Part of our fleet that we're going to be playing through in this series is I want to build a space station. I don't want to think about the space station. I just want a cool space station for our ships to go dock. But I don't think the space station is going to be like super central when it comes to like action or events, maybe like relationship developments, scientific breakthroughs, those kinds of things. But I think most of the action is going to happen around the ships. And so we're going to put an incident control beacon on our space station, so we just don't have to think or worry about it. I am very excited about this mod. It doesn't have the title here, so it is Faction Territories and Vassalage. But basically, you have an option to be able to kind of like show territorial borders around factions. And there is an ability in the mod that when you defeat a faction base, instead of destroying it, you have the option to turn it into a vassalage. And I think right now, the vassalage is just providing you with resources, maybe silver, something like that. The mod author has a lot of ideas to kind of turn these vassalages into having kind of like vanilla outpost expanded type functionality. So being able to set it up as like providing mining resources or providing recruiting or all of these other things. I think there's some kind of mechanic where you can request aid from your vassalages, so you can get like troops. I don't know if they're temporary or permanent or whatever. The mod's not feature complete when it comes to that kind of stuff, so we'll see kind of like what advantage our vassalages have for us. But I just thought this was such a cool concept, and I'm going to do a search real quick. We're going to go search out Faction Manager. This is the mod that I use for kind of like moving faction sites around the map. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but it allows you to rename the factions. You can change faction relationships, and then you can also relocate individual colonies. So if you've ever wanted to have a map that has colonies kind of or the different faction settlements more organized, you can do that. One thing that just kind of bugs me is like colonies will be all over the world and there'll be an intricate road system, and there'll be a colony that spawns like 2 tiles away from a road, when it's like, why isn't that just on the road? If you're going to generate a road, why not generate a colony on it? So this is like unsung hero of many of my playthroughs. I think it's always in the collections that I put together, but I don't think I've pointed it out very frequently. Okay, next up. So, what are we doing with our fleet of Gravships? We are going to be pursuing a bunch of different objectives. And one set of objectives is that we have all of the current Vanilla Quest expanded mods. So we have the generator, we have the crypto forge, we have dead life. I played the generator before. I've had the crypto forge installed in a playthrough, but I've not interacted with any of the content in it, and I have never tried out dead life. I don't know what to expect, but we'll set up at least one of our ships, if not 2 of them, for squadrons of questing pawns, and their specific role in the playthrough will be to complete these quests, see what we can get. You know, we would love to have a nice generator for our space station. There's a mod option in the generator now so that you don't need a steam geyser for it. So you can pretty much install it anywhere. Crypto Forge, I know that there's a bunch of like cool armor and stuff here. I don't want to like scroll down into like the spoilers or read too much of this, but yeah, here's the armor, here's the weapons. Maybe the squad that completes this, their reward is they get to be outfitted with this type of gear. So we'll see how things go. We'll see how things play out. And then we're gonna play with Vanilla Gravship, Vanilla Expanded Gravship, Vanilla Gravship Expanded. I think it's Vanilla Gravship Expanded. Yeah, there it is, Chapter 1. I've just played with this kind of like in some of my downtime just to see how things are going. Obviously, I did some testing with it for Gravship Blueprints when it came out initially, just to make sure all my stuff was working with it. But I haven't tried it out yet. I haven't designed too many grav ships for this yet, just a couple small grav jumpers. And so I think this is an opportunity for me to get familiar with all the things that Vanilla Grav Ships is changing and kind of like see what the size of these ships are going to be, the footprint, and then I can start developing some more ship packs for Gravship Blueprints. I'm pretty excited about this. I know this will make the space station play a lot more challenging because we're going to have to manage oxygen and stuff. But you know, I am excited about the change of pace, I guess. I think the other big thing for this mod is antimatter annihilation. This just adds a bunch of new technology, a bunch of new power sources. It adds a new faction that's probably going to be really, really scary. And there is a beautiful retexture for it, so we grabbed that. And I think the other kind of big technology thing is we did grab Altered Carbon re-sleeved, Altered Carbon 2 re-sleeved. So I figure, you know, if our pawns that we're assigning to different ships to perform different missions for us, if they're doing well, if we're doing well in resources and technology, then we should make the world safer for them, maybe a little bit more permanent for them, offer them the opportunity for better body and potentially immortality. So that is kind of like the bread and butter of what we're going to be looking at in the playthrough. I'm going to load up our starting save and we'll take a look at the Idea Legend, we'll take a look at the world, we'll take a look at our starting pawn. First, I guess we'll go through New Colony. We are doing the Rich Explorer start. So we are starting with just one pawn. His backstory in this scenario is that he was actually the Minister of Science for the Shattered Empire on this world. His name's going to be Lucien Kade. So he's an exiled Minister of Science. We are going to be joining him as they have drop-potted him onto an island all on his own. Basically, he discovers that the Shattered Empire on this world, the Solarian Imperium, they have not had communication with the greater empire in at least a century. And so every technological development that they kind of like push out to their people and to show off their greatness, it's technology that they've kind of like reversed engineered from ancients, they've acquired from other factions or, you know, wayward traders that have wandered into the system. But, you know, they kind of have like been pushing this off as like, yeah, this is still one empire, right? And so their citizens don't know that this fragment of the empire is kind of like all on its own. Lucien has found this out. You know, he's a scientist, so he can't believe that his job is to just kind of sit there and look pretty while for the citizens, while the nobles just kind of live it up, and they have exiled him. So he has an axe to grind. he is aware that there are deserters out there. Oh, those are the two other really big mods that we're playing with. We're playing with faction expanded, empire, and deserters. So Lucien is going to work with other disaffected, dissatisfied former Imperials, and he's going to take the Empire down. He's going to develop new, exciting technology, the likes of which this world has never seen before, and he is going to bring the Empire down, and he's going to usher in maybe his own empire. Well, here is our starting map. It doesn't look like much of an island, which is kind of awkward. I guess the island is just bigger than one tile is willing to show, but Lucien is about to drop pod into the middle of it right here. We have, oh, brand new playthrough. I have not clicked through some of these things yet. We have Lucien Kade. His backstory is he was an apprentice oracle, and then he was an exiled researcher. He is heterosexual. He's industrious to fast learner, good at medical, obviously the Minister of Science, formerly the Minister of Science in the Shattered Empire. So at least somewhat social, great intellectual, and he will be arriving imminently on part 1. Ideology-wise, we are doing a fluid ideology. We're calling the ideology and our faction the Conclave, and to kind of like hammer a little bit into kind of like that political feel. You know, Lucien is building something new. He's not necessarily just like out and out rebel, you know, without a cause. He's a rebel with a cause, and part of his cause is to build up a new faction. So he's calling the people that follow the Conclave his constituents. Very fast research, since there's going to be so much stuff to research. All of this stuff is like pretty basic, and we will change it as we go. Fluid ideology. Our leader is going to be the Prime Arcanite. Moral guide, the Orator. Production specialist, our Artificer. Research specialist, Adept. And then we have one dance party for the first of every quadrum. That nets us a random recruit if it's successful. So nothing too frilly here. Of course, that might change as we go. I think, you know, Lucien being who he is and the theme of this playthrough, this is a really good playthrough to do the transhumanist stuff. So we will see about that. Let's load up the world. And this is what it's looking like. I have my little planet. So this planet is about, I think it's a 50% size planet, but it's 100% render. So we have the whole world, and I have meticulously placed all of these guys on or near roads. Near roads, I know I just complained about that. Near roads because, like, in some situations, maybe I just fat fingered that. I think we can just, like, relocate you. Oh, we can't relocate you right next to yourself, but we can relocate you there. And relocate you there. Those feel like fat fingers. Some of these, I just kind of spaced them out so that like the territory would kind of like join up together. And so to get the territory view to show, we can click over here and we can click this faction territories. And now we can see the Solarian Imperium butted up against the Burnt Ledger group of pirates and Waste Vulture, some waster pirates. We also have the Freeholders over here. Pirates just spread out ambiguously. We have some random pirate, the Burnt Ledger settlements over here. We have Vermini. Oh, that's the title of this. This is the Janella tribe. And we have Clan Savrok, some Impids. I think we also have Clan Savrok over here as well. Down here, this is the faction added by Antimatter Annihilation. So they're going to be obviously like ultra tech, I assume, and they are hostile to us. So the Reclaimers down in the Frozen Waste. We have our Patreon faction, the Claws of Kif. So some hostiles. The clan Antha. We have the Reavers over here. We can go into mod settings, options, mod settings, territory, and we can increase the radius. Maybe let's increase that to like 15. When we save and reload, then the territories will hopefully fill in some of these gaps that we're seeing. We have the named ones, our friendly Patreon faction, and we're back to that tribe. So, not a hugely huge world. Oh, and then the Reavers, I mentioned them already. Okay. We do have some extra atmosphere. We don't have the layered atmosphere, but we do have, I think it's like deep space or deep orbit or something. So we have all these things that are kind of like in the normal layer of orbit, and then we have an extra layer of orbit out here. And supposedly like some really resource rich asteroids and stuff, large amounts of gold, and something else. Large amounts of uranium. Okay, so these asteroids are just like resource rich already. So that'll be an opportunity for us to get resources both from above and from below, because I think we'll put our satellite in orbit on this layer. But I think that's it for kind of like setting up the game start. Part 1 will be up at the regular time, and I'll try and make that happen pretty much like immediately after this episode. So I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for hanging out. As always, until next time, which is hopefully very shortly, have a good one. Bye.